What is the best tri-band handheld ham radio for 2020? The best handheld HT that includes the 220 band along with the 2 meter and 440 band. Let's find out today.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for joining the channel today. My name is Jason. I'm KC5HWB, and on this video series, which is multi-platform, we do reviews, news, and how-tos of many things that are new in amateur radio. So if that's something that interests you, click on subscribe, click on follow, click on the thumbs up button. Let me know what you think in the comments, no matter where you're watching from. Also, a special welcome to all of you listening on the audio-only stream. I take the audio clip out of most of my videos and upload it to a service called Spreaker, which then distributes it to iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, a few other places. So if you're listening today via audio stream, thank you very much for joining us. So one of my most popular videos for 2020 has been the best handheld of 2020. I'll list that here in just a second, somewhere in here. And I got a lot of good feedback. I still get people watching and commenting on that video up, today, that it's been 2 or 3 months. And I thought I would do a best HT of 2020 for tri-band because I'm I like using 220. 220 is a great band. It's not available everywhere. So if it's not available in your country or maybe in your area, you just don't have any 220 repeaters, that's okay. This video might not be for you, but this is a video I've been wanting to make. We're going to go through 7 different radios today. That's a 3. This is a 4. 7. We're going to go through 7 different radios today. I'm going to talk about 6 of them that I recommend and 1 of them I don't recommend. So stick around. This right here is the current HTs I have in my hand. We're going to talk about the 4 today. These are basically from left to right. Oh, I probably put it like that. These are basically my recommendations from left to right. I'll put it like that. So we're going to talk about these 3 today. I'm sorry, these 4 today. And we're also going to talk about, let's see. Yeah, those right there. We're going to talk about we're going to talk about a couple others that are right here. All of the links for today's radios will be in the YouTube description below on my kit.co link, kit.co/KC5HWB. I have kits for multiple different groups of items and radios. And this is the one that I just called basically the best tri-band handheld ham radio of 2020, which is also the video title. So we're going to talk about these 6 today, and you can find links to them all in the kit.co link that's in the description of the video below. So the first one I will tell you about is this Baofeng, and I just reviewed this one recently. This is a Baofeng UV9S. It's about $35 retail. It includes the 2 meters, 220, and 440 band, as they all do today, like I already said. And it is dual display. So some of them, most of them are actually dual display, and you can go to 220 and 4, and it's got 220. And 2 meters there. You can also go to 440. Like that. Sometimes I'm scanning through the band and it'll pick up some intermod or some birdies on the other band. And it will not, it just picks up some interference where it doesn't. But it's got the standard Baofeng menu. It's got the standard Baofeng battery. It does have the belt clip on the radio itself, so that's always a plus in my book. It does come with 2 separate antennas. It comes with a dual band 2 meter 440 antenna, and it comes with a 220 antenna. That's a little bit shorter than this one. It's about yay high, which is a mono band 220 antenna. I don't particularly care for the ones. I mean, that's one drawback about some of the radios that come with dual antennas instead of one tri-band antenna. I don't particularly care for that myself. But depending on what you're going to use it for, it may or may not be for you. So just consider that when purchasing. Just a heads up. The second one I want to talk about is kind of the same thing, and this is not one that I've actually used myself, but it was one that someone in a comment somewhere mentioned to me, and they're like, hey, you should review this radio. So I've got one of these on order, and I'll do a separate independent video. But for $32.99 on Amazon, it is an Amazon's Choice. Amazon's Choice recommends highly rated and well-priced products. Well, that means that people have given it a high rating. It's got 4 out of 5 stars right here. You can see 4.3 out of 5 stars. Most people rate it with 66% of people rated it with 5 stars. So this is a BFR3, Bravo Foxtrot Romeo 3. It's a tri-band. It goes from 220 to 260. One thing you will need to watch for sure is to make sure that if you're going to get a 220 radio, especially from China, that it goes all the way down to 220. Some of these radios, for whatever reason, they say it includes 220, but if you read carefully on the box or on the website description, it goes from 240 to 260. So they don't understand the 220 band very well sometimes, depending on where you're getting it from, depending on what radio it is, where the manufacturer is. Sometimes they don't understand the 220 band, which is basically only available in North America. So just watch for that. So if you find a new 220 radio, find it on eBay, find it on Amazon, somewhere else. Make sure when it says 220 that it actually goes down to 220, because the amateur portion of the 220 band is 222 megahertz to 225 megahertz. So if it only goes from 240 to 260, it's not going to do you any good for that band. So the next one I'll talk about is the TYT TH-350. Now, the really cool thing about this radio here, this one is set above, I shouldn't say above. This one is set apart from the other ones. That's a really bright screen, and you can't see that. There it is. Okay, so the screen went off. You can see that right there where it is all 3 bands displayed on the screen. Okay, so you've got 2 meters, 220, and 440. You don't have to choose 2. The 2 Baofengs we just talked about, and one of the other ones we're going to talk about here in a second, they only display 2 bands at a time. So while they're tri-band HTs, they'll go to 3 bands, and they'll transmit on 3 bands, and you'll be able to use them on 3 bands on your local repeater with no problem at all. You'll only be able to display 2 bands at a time. So you can do 2 meters and 440, 2 meters and 220, 220 and 440, et cetera, et cetera. This one right here has all 3 bands displayed. So you can monitor. Now it doesn't receive all 3 at the same time. So if you have activity on all 3 bands at the same time, you're not going to hear everything at the same time. It's going to watch and monitor these 3 bands, and whichever one pipes up first, that's the one you're going to hear activity on. It'll temporarily mute the other 2 while you're listening to the main band that's receiving activity, the first band that received activity. But this is a really cool radio. Unlike the 2 Baofengs we just talked about, and one of the other ones we'll talk about here in a second, this one actually comes with a tri-band antenna. It has this Shangda. It's called a Shangda. It's a Chinese antenna with a Chinese radio, so you shouldn't be too disappointed. It's a Shangda tri-band 144, 220, and 430 13-inch antenna. So it's a little bit longer than your Baofeng antenna, like that. So just be aware that it's going to be, this is a really good performing tri-band antenna that covers all 3 bands. So you don't have to worry about the whole dual antenna thing on this radio, because this radio comes with the tri-band antenna. So it's tri-display instead of dual display. It's tri-display, and it comes with a tri-band antenna. And at the time of this recording, this radio is around $75. You can probably find it for a little bit cheaper elsewhere if you look around. Some of the ham radio retailers are stocking this radio, and some of them aren't. So it depends on when you're watching. Again, go check the websites. Amazon has it right now, but Amazon will sell out sometimes. RNL, Gigaparts, MTC, these guys, they have been known to carry it in the past, so it just depends on what their stocks look like. But the great thing about this radio, and I've not noticed any birdies on this radio either. I really like, I've had this for over a year. I did a review video on it a while back. I've had really good luck with it. I carry it to my hunting lease and use it often because there's a really good 220 repeater near my hunting lease that we'll talk on sometimes, and this radio works really well for that. The one drawback about it, let me switch back over here, is that it does have the battery on, or the belt clip is on the battery, not the radio. So if you're going to get a different battery, like a second battery for it, or an extend, I don't think at the time of this recording they don't make an extended battery for it, but if you're going to get a second battery for it, you're going to have to get another belt clip also. So I don't really like when the manufacturers do that. I'd much rather have the belt clip on the back of the radio itself. Okay, so the fourth one that we will talk about today, and quite frankly, for the Chinese radios, this one might be my favorite. This one might be the most solid. This is a BTech 5x3. Okay, it says BTech right here. Now, Baofeng Tech, or BTech, is an outfit in the United States that takes Baofeng radios and they upgrade them to a better usability. I mean, they may upgrade the transmitter, they may upgrade the receiver, they may do both. But if you compare a BTech HT, which looks just like a UV5R, honestly, this looks just like the UV5R, but it does go to 220. You can see the 220 right there. It's 220 on the band right there. This is a 5x3, which is the model number right there. It's small, but yeah, there it is, 5x3, which means UV5 model 5x3 tri-band. It's still dual display, just like the other two Baofengs I talked about, and it's got the same menu system that you would expect to see out of a Chinese radio or a Baofeng radio. So, but this thing I have used numerous times. It also came with two antennas, and I switched that out pretty quick. I've got this Nagoya 320A antenna on it, which this is the same as that tri-band. Let me switch that view because I can show it better up here. This is basically the same length as that Shengda antenna. In fact, it's a little bit longer. I think the Nagoya is a 14-inch and the Shengda is a 13-inch. So this is the Shengda antenna that's on the TYT radio comes with, and this is a Nagoya antenna that I bought separately. It did not. The UV5X did not come with that. The cool thing about these is that they'll work for whatever radio application. This one's SMA female and this one's SMA male. So you could take this Shengda antenna and put it on a Kenwood D74, which we're going to talk about in a second. So it comes with two antennas, similar to its Baofeng cousins, but you can easily trade that out, or you can use the dual band antennas, or just the dual antennas, I should say, and just trade them out when you want to if you don't use 220 that much. But this radio has been very solid. This is probably my favorite Chinese tri-band HT, honestly, because it is only dual display, and it's a toss-up between this and the TYT. The TYT does have the tri-display, and it comes with the antenna that you want on it, or that I would want on it anyway. This one takes the regular UV5R extended batteries. This one didn't come with an extended battery. I put this extended battery on it. This is something else I got from Amazon. The belt clip attaches to the radio itself, so you don't have to worry about that. So I can trade it out and put the stock battery back on, or use the extended battery. The extended battery fits in the stock charger, and the belt clip's always right there on the radio, so you don't have any problems with that. But I have used this in the field, mostly at my hunting lease, numerous times, and been very happy with it. As far as Chinese radios go, this one is quite solid because it has been upgraded by Baofeng Tech in the USA. Go check out their website, baofengtech.com. They are on Amazon. You can buy their stuff through there. I've done several videos of different models of their radios, and I've been overall quite pleased with all of them. The fifth one I'm going to talk about today is a Yaesu. This one and the next one are both Japanese made. This Yaesu is a VX6R, which is still in production at the time of this recording. It sells for about $269 on Amazon. Okay, so here's the Gigaparts link, which, okay, it's $20 cheaper on Gigaparts right now at the time of this recording. It is free shipping. You can buy it with PayPal or PayPal credit, whatever you want to do. This is the VX6R from Yaesu. And I've actually emailed Gigaparts and said, guys, can I get one of these to toy around with? I want to do a separate video on it. So they're probably going to be sending me one of those soon. The The VX6R provides receive coverage of the AM and FM broadcast bands, HF shortwave band, VHF and UHF TV bands, VHF AM aircraft band, and a wide range of commercial and public safety frequencies. Furthermore, the USA version enables 1.5 watts of transmit power on the 220 band. So, you get not only a tri-band HT to use and talk on 3 different bands in the amateur radio spectrum, but you get all of those receive bands also. It does 5 watts on 2 meters and 220, and it does 1.5 watts on, 5 watts on 2 meters and 440, 1.5 watts on 220. Most of these Baofeng radios will do 3 to 5 watts on all 3 bands, depending on what. And, you know, quality control out of China, you might get one that works great, and you might get one that's 1 watt on every band. So check it when you get it. You know, if you're going to, you know, buy the least expensive one, then you kind of get what you pay for. As I said with my advice on the best handheld ham radio, just the overall best handheld, buy the most expensive radio that you can afford. Because the Yaesu, while it doesn't do as much power on 220, has a wider range of receive frequencies, and it's going to have a much better receiver than most anything from the Chinese market. Now, the BTech is going to have a pretty darn good receiver too, but if I had to put it up against the Yaesu, I would expect that the Yaesu would win as far as receive capability. I've not tested that. I don't know, but I have used other Yaesu radios and other Chinese radios in the past, and generally speaking, Yaesu has a much better receiver than the Chinese stuff does. So take that for what it's worth. Do your own testing and see what you think. But the Yaesu VX6R is about $250, so it is quite a step up from the other 4 that I talked about just now. But it's going to give you a much better radio. It looks like it's dual. From the pictures I've seen of it, because I don't have one in my hand, it looks like it is single display. So you can only display one band at a time, much like the FT60. FT60 is a dual band radio, 2 meters and 440, but you can only monitor and display one band at a time on the screen. So it's a bit of a drawback. Some people may not care about that, and that's okay. Just know what you're buying. The last and best radio that I will talk about, and this one is actually one of my favorites, quite frankly. This one, I love this radio. I have carried it for a long time, and I carry it out to my deer lease because, quite frankly, because I mean, you say, well, are you going to carry a $500? Yeah, I do, because it's so versatile. It's so awesome. So this is the Kenwood D74A. Now let me move it over here. The great thing about this radio, besides the fact that it does 220, it is dual display. It'll do dual display. You can turn it off and do single display. You can switch the 2 here. Let's see. It's got a great menu system on it. Easy to follow, easy to program. Function dual. You can turn the dual display off and do a single display like that, where it displays the date at the top. It is not touchscreen, and I don't care. I don't care if it's touchscreen. That doesn't bother me at all. In fact, when I use my Yaesu touchscreen HT, sometimes I'll reach down my belt to grab it, and I'll hit the menu. So I don't like that much at all. But this one's not touchscreen. It is dual display, tri-band. It has APRS and GPS and Bluetooth in it. So I can take this radio and set it on my hunting stand, depending on where I'm at the deer lease, or I can even do this in the car, really. And I set it here and put my Bluetooth earpiece, and I can, when I hear activity in the radio, I just reach over and key it and talk really quietly while I'm in the hunting stand. So it's versatile. You don't have to, I mean, you can get an earpiece for all of these radios, but with the Kenwood, you don't have to worry about the wire coming off of it because it's Bluetooth. Of course, the drawback about this radio is that at the time of this recording, it's about $550. This is probably the most expensive HT on the market today. This is a higher price than anything Yaesu has right now. ICOM doesn't really have any HTs out right now. I mean, they do. They got a couple. The ID52 was announced, and it supposedly will be out by the end of the year, around Christmas time of 2020. But we don't really have a contender in the game from ICOM right now, since they discontinued the ID51. But This guy, but even when the ID51A was in production up until a month or two ago, it wasn't near the price of this one. I think it was around 3.5, something like that. This thing's $5,500, $550 roughly, depending on where you go. So, and it comes with a tri-band antenna, so you don't have to upgrade it. I put this diamond antenna on it because I lost my stock Kenwood tri-band antenna on a trip I was on. I had it in my bag. And I take the antenna off of the radio when I put it in my bag for travel because I don't want something pressing against it and bending the antenna on the radio and breaking the SMA connector, either on the antenna or the radio itself. So I take the antenna off and power the radio down, and I put it in my bag. And I left the stock antenna in a hotel room somewhere. I don't even remember where it was now. So I got this diamond antenna off of Amazon and it works very well, but of course that adds to the price. But you don't have to worry about that if you just keep track of your stock antenna because the stock antenna that comes with it is tri-band. It's got everything you need. I've done a video on firmware updating this radio. It takes literally about 10 seconds to update the firmware on this radio. Very easy to use, very easy to see, great screen in the sunlight, all kinds of good stuff. Bluetooth, APRS, GPS, whole 9 yards. So, as well it should be for the price point that they get for it. So, if you can afford one of these, I know several guys who have these and they love this radio. If you can afford one of these, that's the one I would recommend. But the reason I'm listing out these 6 radios today is because most people are probably not going to want to drop $550 on an HT, especially if it's your first HT. You're probably not going to want to do that. Again, get the most expensive radio you can afford right now, but just realize if you're buying the $35 radio, it's going to be something that you'll probably want to upgrade at some point in the future. So among the ones that I did not mention today were, actually thought of an 8th one, the Oshang UV8 Echo, which I did a video on at some point in the past, and I'll link that up here. I used that in the field a couple of times, and it had too many birdies in it. Too much intermod. Sometimes you'd key up on 220 and you'd key up on 2 meters and the 220 band on the other side of the radio would start squawking. Sometimes you would do it between 220 and 440. I just thought that was not put together very well at all. I don't, if you use that radio, if you have that, then great. If you like it, wonderful. I just don't recommend it because I think you can do better for the price point it's at. The other one that I did a recent review on was the Baofeng UV82x3, and you could see, honestly, I had high hope for that radio, and on 2 meters and 220 it seemed to be okay, but on 440 the power output was only 1 watt. So I wouldn't recommend that radio unless you find one where maybe you're getting the proper output on everything, and that's okay. If that's what you find, if that's what you have experienced, then okay, do that. Use that. But at the time of this recording, I really don't recommend the UV8 Echo or the UV82x3 because I've had a little bit of issues with those. They're both priced higher than the 2 Baofengs, the first 2 Baofengs I talked about. So if you want something that performs a little bit better, get one of those. The TH-350 from TYT and the UV5x3 from BTech are going to be a much better choice than the 2 Baofengs I talked about today and the 2 that I would not recommend. And of course, your Yaesu and your Kenwood are going to be top of the line, top price point, but also top featured radios in the spectrum. Let me know what you think, guys. Put your comments below. If you like this video, check out some of the videos that are upcoming here on the left here in just a second. And let me know if you've used any of these radios. If you want to add something, if you think I should have added a model to this video, let me know what that is. Put your comments below. 73. Have a good weekend.